When a man says this, he's lying. Don't fall for it, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever been told something that sounded too good to be true? A promise so perfect, a statement so convincing that for a second you wanted to believe it. Despite that nagging feeling in your gut, we've all been there. Someone looks you in the eye, tells you exactly what you want to hear, and for a moment you think, maybe this time it's real. But let me tell you something. When a man says it and you feel that doubt creeping in, don't ignore it. Because words without action are just empty echoes. Today, we're going to talk about the power of seeing through the illusion, about trusting yourself before trusting pretty words, and about never falling for something that doesn't align with the truth you already know. It's time to step into your power. It's time to see things for what they really are. Confidence isn't something that needs to be announced. It's something you feel, something you see, something that radiates effortlessly. A person who is truly confident in what they are saying doesn't need to repeat themselves 100 times over just to convince you. They don't need to swear on everything they hold dear or over-explain their actions. The louder someone tries to convince you, the more you should question why they feel the need to do so in the first place. Insecurity often hides behind grand declarations, behind dramatic statements designed to distract you from the truth. When someone keeps saying, "Trust me, believe me," or "I swear," take a step back and ask yourself, why do they need to say it so much? If something is real, it speaks for itself. If a person is true, their actions will align with their words, and you won't need constant reminders. Real confidence is steady, it's composed, and it never begs for validation. On the other hand, when someone is unsure of their own truth, when they know deep down that what they are saying doesn't quite add up, they try to cover it with exaggerated words and over-the-top promises. It's a distraction, a way to shift your focus from reality to the fantasy they want you to believe. This is why it's so important to listen with more than just your ears. Pay attention to the energy behind the words. Is there a nervousness, a sense of desperation? Are they saying what they think you want to hear rather than what you actually need to know? True confidence doesn't need validation. It exists on its own. But when insecurity speaks, it often does so loudly, hoping the noise will be enough to drown out the doubt. Your intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have, and yet it's often the first thing we're taught to ignore. From a young age, we are conditioned to second-guess ourselves, to be polite, to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when something inside us is screaming that something isn't right. But that feeling, that deep instinctual knowing, is not there by accident. It exists to protect you, to guide you, to steer you away from what is false and toward what is real. Think about the moments when you felt uneasy, when someone's words didn't quite match their energy, when something sounded perfect, yet there was a whisper in your mind telling you to look deeper. How many times have you brushed that feeling aside, telling yourself you were just overthinking, only to later realize that your gut was right all along? That's because intuition isn't a vague concept. It's an internal compass that picks up on things your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. The tone of someone's voice, the subtle shifts in their body language, the inconsistencies in their stories. Your intuition catches these things before your logic does. The problem is, when someone is telling us exactly what we want to hear, we want to believe them. We want to hold on to the hope that this time the words are true. But intuition doesn't care about hope. It cares about truth. It nudges you, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, reminding you that not everything that glitters is gold. And the moment you start ignoring it, the moment you trade that knowing for the comfort of pretty lies, you give away your power. The world is full of people who will say whatever it takes to get what they want, but no one can deceive you unless you let them. Promises are easy to make, but they mean nothing without the actions to back them up. Words are effortless. They roll off the tongue with charm, with ease, with a confidence that can make them sound undeniable. But words, no matter how beautifully spoken, are just air if they are not reinforced by consistent and deliberate effort. Too often we get caught up in what someone says because we want to believe in the potential of their words rather than the reality of their actions. It's comforting to hold on to a promise, to let it soothe our doubts and make us feel secure. But security doesn't come from what someone tells you, it comes from what they show you over and over again without fail. When someone keeps making grand statements about what they will do, about how much they care, about how they will change, stop and ask yourself, have they proven it? Not just once, not just in moments of convenience, but consistently, even when no one is watching. A person who is true to their word doesn't need to remind you of it constantly because their actions speak for them. They don't need to swear that they will come through for you because history has already shown that they will. On the other hand, someone who knows deep down that they lack the discipline, the integrity, or the honesty to follow through will lean on words as a crutch. They will paint a vision of what they want you to believe, hoping that their promises will be enough to keep you waiting, to keep you believing, to keep you invested. But time reveals all things, and sooner or later, the gap between what is said and what is done becomes impossible to ignore. It is in that gap where truth resides, where reality strips away illusion, where you realize that no amount of promises can make up for a pattern of inaction. Self-worth is not something that should ever be compromised, negotiated, or placed in the hands of someone else. Yet, far too often, we let other people's words dictate how we feel about ourselves. We let their validation become our confidence and their rejection become our insecurity. But here's the truth. Your worth is not up for debate. It is not something that fluctuates based on how someone treats you, what they say to you, or whether they choose to recognize it. It exists strong and unshaken regardless of outside opinions. The moment you start doubting yourself because of someone else's words, you are handing them power that does not belong to them. You are allowing their perspective to shape your reality, their dishonesty to create uncertainty within you, their empty promises to determine your expectations. But no one, no matter how charming, persuasive, or convincing they may seem, has the right to decide your value. The only person who gets to do that is you, and the way you choose to see yourself will determine how others see you. People can sense when someone knows their worth and when someone is still searching for it. Those who thrive on manipulation and deceit prey on those who are unsure of themselves. They test your boundaries, seeing how much they can get away with before you walk away. They feed you just enough words to keep you holding on, to keep you doubting yourself, to keep you thinking that maybe, just maybe, this time they mean it. But the moment you decide that you are enough, without their validation, without their approval, without their words, you break free from that cycle. Because the truth is, when you know who you are and what you deserve, you don't wait around for someone to prove it to you. You don't entertain half-truths, empty gestures, or inconsistent behavior. You walk away knowing that real love, real respect, and real commitment never come with conditions. A woman who truly knows her worth, who understands the power of her intuition, and who refuses to be blinded by empty words is a woman who cannot be deceived. She sees through the illusions, through the rehearsed lines, through the well-crafted apologies that come only when someone fears losing the control they thought they had over her. She listens not just to the words being spoken, but to the silence between them, to the hesitation, to the inconsistencies, to the energy that reveals more than words ever could. Because the truth is, deception isn't always in what is said, it's often in what is left unsaid, in the gaps between stories, in the sudden change of tone, in the avoidance of real accountability. A person who has nothing to hide does not feel the need to convince you of their honesty over and over again. They do not get defensive when questioned, nor do they try to shift the blame onto you for doubting them. But a man who is lying will often make you feel like you are the problem for questioning him. He will twist the narrative, making you feel guilty for not trusting him, as if your instincts are a flaw rather than a form of protection. He will make excuses, tell half-truths, and create just enough confusion to make you second-guess yourself. But no matter how carefully a lie is crafted, no matter how much effort is put into maintaining it, the truth always has a way of surfacing. It is not your responsibility to dig for the truth in places where someone has deliberately tried to bury it. It is not your job to rationalize someone's dishonesty or make excuses for their contradictions. The moment you recognize a pattern of inconsistency, of avoidance, of deflection, you already have your answer. Because real honesty is not fragile. It does not break when questioned. It does not shift when challenged. And it does not require constant reassurance to be believed. The ability to see the truth for what it is, rather than what you wish it to be, is what sets apart those who are easily deceived from those who stand in their power. At the end of the day, the truth is never complicated. It doesn't need to be dressed up in flowery words, repeated endlessly, or manipulated into something more palatable. It stands firm, clear, and undeniable. But deception is crafted with precision. It is carefully designed to make you doubt your instincts, to keep you hoping, to make you believe that if you just hold on a little longer, the words will finally align with the actions. But you are not here to be fooled. You are not here to be strung along by empty promises, by words that hold no weight, by explanations that change every time you look a little closer. You are here to stand in your power, to trust what you see rather than what you are told, to honor your intuition and never silence it for the sake of someone else's comfort. Because when a man says something that doesn't sit right with you, when his words demand more belief than his actions deserve, that is your sign not to wait for more proof, not to give him another chance to rewrite the story, but to walk away knowing that you have always had the answer. The only question is whether you will trust yourself enough to listen.